Eastern Federal Lands Highway Division for being our partners in many aspects in the district, but we're here to talk today about a specific project. Our team at DDOT has been working with them throughout the planning process for the rehabilitation of Beach Drive, and that has helped tremendously in preparing to ease traffic issues that we know will attend such a project. This project has been a long time coming, and it's going to take at least 3 years to complete. And then when the work is done on Beach Drive and the adjoining trail, this will be a safer area for travelers, bicyclers, and pedestrians. Our purpose today is to alert the traveling public and to make sure that they are fully aware of the project, detour and traffic changes, but most importantly, we want people to be thinking about their commutes and alternatives. So let me say this as clearly as I can. If you normally use Beach Drive for your commute, you should think of alternate ways to commute and avoid this area altogether. Commuters will face significant traffic backups and delays, especially during the first weeks of the project. There are alternate routes, and we strongly urge the public to consider them. We also suggest trying other modes of transportation, such as Metro, the bus, and Capital Bike Share, and of course, always consider finding a carpool, so we have more than one person in every car. However, if you must drive on the part of Beach Drive that will be open, avoid driving all the way to Tilden, and we're close to the intersection of Beach Drive and Tilden, and we are going to talk a little bit more about the phases of this project. Consider other corridors. We ask for your patience, and we will continue to offer as much information as possible and as timely as possible. We also ask that you respect the people that live in the communities that surround Beach Drive in this project area. Please stay off neighborhood streets, drive safely and carefully, and remember that we have speed limits in the District of Columbia. Some of our mitigation for Safe Track will also aid in mitigation of Beach Drive traffic as well. Finally, we ask for your patience. Stay informed through the National Park Service on the progress of this construction. And also visit DDOT's GoDCGo.com for help on alternate routes. So I'm going to ask Director Dormsjo to also talk. I'm going to ask the National Park Service to come up next. And you're going to talk about the phases of the project, and then we'll talk about mitigation efforts. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Frank Young. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Rock Creek Park, and I'll be providing an overview of the Beach Drive reconstruction project. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to thank you, Madam Mayor, for your strong support and support of your staff with the District Department of Transportation, the District Department of Energy and Environment, and Department of Planning and Economic Development of National Park Service infrastructure projects in the district. So thank you. On September 22nd, the National Park Service will begin an approximate 3-year rehabilitation of Beach Drive, resulting in a safer, smoother trip through Rock Creek Park for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists. Beach Drive was originally designed in 1897 to provide recreational access to the nation's third national park and first urban national park. Winding 6.5 miles along scenic Rock Creek, today, 12 million cars use Beach Drive each year, and more than 40,000 people use Beach Drive for recreational use each weekend. The National Park Service has been planning this project for nearly a decade. Planning included environmental planning and compliance, permitting requirements, securing funding, and several public comment periods. Beach Drive was last rehabilitated 26 years ago in 1991. And has surpassed its 20-year service life. Each year, the National Park Service spends about $75,000 on temporary patches and pothole filling. This is not a sustainable or safe long-term solution. The Beach Drive Rehabilitation Project includes full-depth pavement reconstruction, which includes excavating the entire roadway and placing a new gravel base before new asphalt paving, storm drain rehabilitation and improvements, installation and upgrades of raised pavement markers, centerline rumble strips, guardrails, and road signs to provide safer road conditions, improvements to pedestrian and bicycle trails, parking area reconstruction and rehabilitation, rehabilitation of 7 bridges, and traffic signal and street light replacements. Construction is broken down into 4 segments, each projected to last 6 to 8 months. Each segment of Beach Drive will be closed to all use 24/7 during work. Unaffected areas of Beach Drive will remain open, providing commuters and visitors access to the rest of Rock Creek Park. The 4 segments are: Segment 1, Beach Drive from where it begins at the Rock Creek and Potomac Parkway to Tilden Street. Segment 1 is broken down into 2 phases, 1A and 1B. During the first phase, the section of Beach Drive between Porter Street and Piney Branch Parkway will remain open to allow for east-west travel. During the second phase, it will close to all work on this section of road. After both phases of Segment 1 are complete, this section of Beach Drive will reopen and work will begin on Segment 2. Segment 2 will close Tilden Street to Broad Branch Road and is projected to begin in spring 2017. Segment 3, Broad Branch Road to Joyce Road. Segment 4, Joyce Road to the District Maryland border. The National Park Service and Federal Highway Administration reviewed a number of alternative construction plans, including closing the entire stretch of Beach Drive or leaving 1 lane of traffic open. The current construction plan was selected because closing the entire stretch of Beach Drive would limit access to Rock Creek Park, limit access east-west across the city, add additional detour routes, and most significantly, further increase traffic congestion during the closure. We could not keep 1 lane open because Beach Drive is not wide enough to close 1 lane of traffic and allow construction crews to conduct their work effectively or safely. The plan to complete each segment in the current order is as a result of additional beneficial projects in partnership with DDOT and other agencies. Completing these projects together will significantly reduce future impacts to visitors, commuters, and local residents. Throughout the rehabilitation project, the NPS will provide regular updates to include detailed detour routes on the park website at go.nps.gov/Beach Drive. This is the best and primary source for information about the project and to help you plan your trip in and around Rock Creek Park. Additionally, we encourage everyone who uses Rock Creek Park or Beach Drive to sign up to receive critical information via a free text messaging service called Nixle. You can register right from your phone by texting the word Beach Drive, which is all one word, Beach Drive to 888-777. Also, going live today on the project website, go.nps.gov/Beach Drive, is a location-based mobily responsive map. You will be able to go to the map wherever you are, wherever you're located, and it will tell you the best detour route to get to from where you are to where you're going. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Director Dormstrow.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, and thank you, Deputy Superintendent Young. Good morning. I am Leif Dormstrow, the Director of the District Department of Transportation. I wanted to take a few minutes to share how we plan to work with National Park Service to keep traffic flowing safely during this construction project. Because of the scale of this project, we have a multi-phase response plan throughout the whole project area. First, we want the public to know that DDOT will implement a traffic mitigation strategy at each stage covering the overall Beach Drive rehabilitation project. This will include signal timing adjustments and traffic phasing modifications on key corridors. We will also deploy traffic control officers at critical intersections and use variable message signs to communicate upcoming traffic conditions and closures and detours to commuters. Throughout the project, we will monitor the behavior of commuters using closed circuit television locations, in the field evaluation, our traffic count stations, and our traffic control center. As each stage of the project progresses, our teams will make modifications to signal timing, to the deployment of those traffic control officers. We will adjust signal phasing and turn movements, and also make adjustments with regard to the location of supervisory staff. The public can rest assured that we will have a very visible presence at intersections of concern. And finally, because we're not perfectly certain about how traffic will redistribute in the coming days, we will be flexible in making determinations about changes. So based on our evaluation and analysis of traffic diversions and the responses that we see from the public, we'll make adjustments to the strategies that we started out with on day one. But ultimately, we feel that the first phase is the one that will create the most traffic impacts. So we're really concentrating and want to get the word out in advance so that people will make plans for alternative travel. In particular, we're glad that the National Park Service has delayed the commencement of this project to a Thursday as opposed to a Monday, because we think that that will allow people to actually test drive their commutes over the coming days to be ready for Thursday and Friday, and then over the weekend make adjustments as needed to that Monday morning commute next week. We're going to communicate throughout the life of this project. Today's kind of the formal commencement of that, but we expect to be in an ongoing conversation with the public about how traffic conditions are faring. So with that, I think we're going to open it up for any questions that you might have of the group.
Can you talk a little bit more about what happens
Adam, why don't you go first?
Hi, there. Good to see you. Can you talk a little bit more about what happens to the trail next to the road? I didn't understand quite if it's going to be open or if there's going to be some way that bicyclists and pedestrians
Sure.
still
I'm going to ask the superintendent to talk about that. And let's also confirm the start date. I don't think I mentioned that it's this Thursday, but you can talk about start date.
Yeah. Yes, as far as we know, and is currently planned, the 22nd is the start date of the project. Regarding the trail will remain open while the road is under construction. Once the road construction is completed, crews will then start work on the trail, on the paved trail. While work is undergoing on the paved trail, one lane of Beach Drive will be open for pedestrian use.
So in other words, you can still run, bike, walk during the entire length of the project?
Yes. Yes, as far as I know, that is correct.
So, who are we talking about here is going to be affected by this? Because it sounds like a lot of the vehicles using the road are single occupant commuters coming possibly from Maryland. They're using it like a highway to get downtown. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be too many alternates for those folks, that a lot of this traffic is going to spill onto 16th Street, etc., right?
So the question was from Martin, who are we talking about? Who is this affecting? So I'm going to ask the director to talk about what we know about the commuting public on how many cars and how we're going to ask them to find alternatives, because obviously there are other ways to go north and south in the district.
Okay, so that's a very good question. With regard to the morning commute, okay, about 70% of the users of Beach Drive are coming from the east, okay, and 30% are coming from the west. So the bulk of the commuters are coming from the east. They're going to have alternatives at 16th Street, 14th Street, Georgia Avenue, Columbia Road. We anticipate
Drive on those roads, or are you saying they should get into
alternative routes. Well, we're talking about the distribution of about 20,000 vehicles on a daily basis. Okay, so we've got across the kind of radial arterials, we've got a lot of high order roads that should be able to accommodate those motorists. On the west side, we've got Massachusetts Avenue, Wisconsin, Connecticut. On the east side, the routes that I mentioned. Also keep in mind that we have extended the rush hours by a half an hour. We did that as part of the Safe Track program. So both Connecticut and 16th Street will have parking restrictions until 10 a.m., which is new, and until 7 p.m. in the evening. So we're creating more lane capacity on some of these major arterials, and we're also going to keep the inbound and outbound signal timing patterns in place longer than we normally would. So we're making some adjustments to parking, we're making some adjustments to signal timing. Not everyone is going to use the detour route. Hopefully, people sort out different routes along the lines of the alternatives that I mentioned. But the detour will be for 30 to 40% of the kind of daily commuters.
Where do you expect the other 60% to go?
Onto the routes that I just described. Yep.
So you're not expecting people to hop into buses or ride bikes?
We're encouraging people to as the mayor said, to carpool, to use the transit system. Obviously, that's a more efficient way to use the transportation system, and we think there's some benefits associated with that. But we do think that with adjustments that the highway roadway system can accommodate this commute, but people are going to have to plan ahead. They can't just assume it's going to be business as usual.
Along some pretty busy routes, what's your advice to them on any worries that their quiet residential streets might become a traffic gridlock?
Well, let me also say that the question was, do we think that this affects a lot of Maryland commuters? And the answer is yes. And we have encouraged Park Service, like they're working with us, to also work with our partners in Montgomery County to get the word out to Montgomery County commuters who we know drop through and access Beach Drive to go through the park. So we're obviously, if everybody tries to come here and detour, we're going to have a big problem. So we want people to think about making changes even before they hit the district line to make their commutes more smooth. And we are concerned, especially in the early weeks, for people who are caught off guard by a change to their commute pattern. They will frequently get lost in neighborhood streets. And when they get lost, they try to make up time by speeding through neighborhood streets. So part of what DDOT will do is monitor that in the early weeks. Often what we see is after a few weeks, people figure it out, but we want to call their attention to it early so they're not cutting through and speeding through neighborhood streets, because there can be consequences for that. Yes?
Just so I'm clear, if you're in the evenings commute and you're coming up Rockford Parkway, will it be closed off right there before you get to the view tunnel?
Sure. Let me have the superintendent. The question is, we're talking about the evening commute now, and what will be the changes in traffic patterns in phase one?
Well, the closure will be at the Beach Drive exit at Rock Creek and Potomac Parkway.
So you mean at the Connecticut Avenue exit coming to Rock Creek?
About the south. We'll point it out. Who wants to point it out on the map where we're talking about?
For the first section?
Yes.
For
Tilden?
Paul, let me understand your question.
You can go down Beach Drive and through the view tunnel. Okay? Is that where it's going to be closed off once you start construction?
That's correct.
But we never heard of Potomac Parkway.
That's the southernmost point.
Well,
it's all
this,
the same thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's Rock Creek Parkway is Rock Creek and Potomac Parkway. They're the same.
Concern when the next metro maintenance surge starts, I guess that's surge number 10, that's a segment shut down on the red line. Are those two things not overlapping, as far as the convenience goes for users?
That's certainly something that we're taking a look at. Thankfully, we're going to have about a month of this closure and the diversion patterns in place. But that is certainly something that we want to take a close look at. I don't think that there's a direct kind of overlay to both of the transportation programs that we're talking about. But we're certainly going to be taking a look at that, and if there are kind of inputs from what we see over the next several weeks that generate some concern, we may kind of modify the game plan that we have with WMATA going into Surge 10. But that's a good question, but something that's probably about 4 to 5 weeks away for us.
This be? You've talked a lot about the inconvenience and people having to change their routes and stuff, but I mean, how much better will this feel for folks? Why should they stick with this, I guess?
We're talking about Beach Drive? Oh, we've gotten a number of complaints from the public regarding the unsafe conditions of Beach Drive and the paved trail. And as I said, it's been 26 years since it's been last rehabilitated, and we expect it to be brand new. We expect a much safer and an effective roadway to use. It'll be much safer, both the roadway and the trail.
Will there be any impact to
Hold on 1 second. I just want to add to that. I have to add to that because we know the condition of Beach Drive is bad. It's not good, and that presents safety concerns for motorists. But let's also remember what the superintendent said at the outset. The whole purpose of Beach Drive was to provide access to a tremendous asset for residents of the District of Columbia, and that's Rock Creek Park. And let's keep in mind that this road also runs along our creek. And if it deteriorates to a point where it's impacting the creek, then that presents a whole nother set of concerns. So after 26 years, they're not just doing, let me emphasize, this is a federal government project. It belongs to the MPS, but it affects all of us. So they're just not doing a quick and dirty resurfacing. This is going to be a job that goes all the way down, a full job into the roadway, and that will last us a much longer time than kind of a quick and dirty and I say that in the nicest forms. I don't want to offend anybody in the transportation business. But this is a major reconstruction project, and that's why it's taking this amount of time. Yes.
Hold on. Mayor, can we take a real brief break because these tents are pulling water and we're all going to get dumped on back here. If you can give us 1 second, we'll just push the water over top.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I've had the experience of one of these bridges going into the area. And when that happens, you have no chance to respond. Okay, we're going to take a few more questions about this, and then any off topic, I'll be up here. 1 second.
Mayor, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You all set, cameras?
Everybody set? Everybody good? Yep, we're good.
My question was, how do you feel safe track is going?
Well, we're talking about Beach Drive right now. I'll take any off topics when we're done with Beach Drive, okay? Yep.
Can you clarify about the rush hour one-way times? Will they be impacted at all during this process? Will it still be the same early morning and evening rush hour?
One-way traffic will still be the same on Rock Creek Parkway. Yes.
Timing won't be extended at all.
That's correct.
And then when you get to the portions that I think, what is it, like Flagler to Joyce or up north, where on the weekends it is currently closed for cyclists and pedestrians to use.
Yes.
What will happen? Will the work be 7 days a week? And what will happen when you're doing that stretch on the weekends?
It will be closed.
It will be closed.
Those sections will be closed.
On the weekends.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
That's phase 3.
Phase 3 is 3 and 4. Yeah.
Okay, that's phase 3. And so also we have our DDOT team is, and you all can be helpful with this, making sure that we're getting the word out to all the communities along the park, along 16th and Connecticut, that will, that are closest to the impact area. So your question around Safe Track is... well, I rely on DDOT certainly, and Leif in particular, because he sits on the Metro board to make sure that we have ways of monitoring and that there are metrics associated with the work that WMATA is doing. But we are certainly want to hold the authority accountable to do what they said they're going to do. Any adjustments, which I think they're considering now, we also want to pay close attention to.
But as an observer, and you were on the Metro board, of course, do you feel like the project is going the way it should, or are you concerned about some of the problems that have popped up along the way?
I'm concerned about everything to do with Safe Track and Metro, but I think they're complicated issues, and that's why we have experts following it and holding them accountable. I think what's important is that we're just not responding to stories or anecdotes, but we have real metrics that we can follow through every phase to make sure that what they said would be accomplished is being accomplished. Yes?
Changing security-wise after what's happened this past weekend in the New York area?
Well, certainly we are continuing to monitor what happens in New York. We're paying very close attention to it and working with our federal partners. We have no specific reason to be concerned, but we're the nation's capital, so we remain at a highly vigilant level.
In any way, where anything security, given what's happening in New York, and you seen it? I know we had a suspicious package this morning down around FBI. Do you know anything about that?
Well, all I will say at this point is that we are monitoring with our federal partners, and we have no specific reason to be concerned.
Weekends events at the African American History Museum coming up. I mean, is this added concern now for that event?
We have national security events each and every day. This one, not each and every day, but certainly a lot, more than any other jurisdiction. Probably New York is right up there with us, and we are preparing for that event as we have been for months. It doesn't have the highest security level, but it's up there, and we will be prepared to deal with it. Not yet, but I intend to.
When something like that happens, when you have the Joint Terrorism Task Force up there investigating those events, is there anything that goes on here that you get involved in? Is there a conference call that you get involved in? How do you get informed about how things are going in the city?
There's an automatic process that involves our Department of Homeland Security and the Chief of Police. That's the appropriate level. And if there is something for me to be concerned about, I'm certainly involved at the first second of notice.
You didn't get any calls over the weekend to inform you about what has happened?
The protocol is through our Department of Homeland Security and the Chief of Police.
Update on Burning Place, anything you've heard as far as, any suspects in custody? Have they uncovered any videos, surveillance video, or people come forward with cell phone video?
Well, we know that there's a lot of video out there about the event itself. I don't know that we haven't found anything that was instructive to point us to specific suspects. But we asked, there are dozens of people throughout the day who were at that event, and we asked them to come forward and share that information with us.
Heard any of the complaints from family members and witnesses who complained that the ambulance response was slow, and that's why people ended up most of the people self-transported.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything that would substantiate those claims, but we're certainly looking into it today. No, I can't really say anything further. We have no reason to believe, though, that it was I don't know what the motive is, and we will obviously there are a lot of witnesses to interview. Our teams were out yesterday, and will continue to be out until we talk to everybody who has some information to provide. No, not at this point. We as the chief mentioned the other night, we suspect that there were at least 2. Thank you, everybody.